Our audio is good. Hi, Facebook people. Just bear with us while we also go live on YouTube. We're going to be covering the latest news on atheism, religion, politics, everything in between. I think we're also live on YouTube right now. Yeah, okay. I see on Facebook people are commenting. Scott, Khalid, Beston. On YouTube, I see Christy. Hey, Christy! Christy and Chris and GV, Angel, P. All right, let's just. If our audio is good, let us know. Let us know if one of us is louder than the other one, so I could adjust the audio here as well.
It's
But
gonna be me, you know it.
that's why I increased my audio compared to you. Anyways, okay. Let's get to the news.
Who's the loudmouth Jew broad?
Wait. Let me see if anybody's telling us the audio is good or not. Anybody? Anybody? No, okay, nobody's telling us. Okay, I keep an eye on the live chat so somebody will tell us. Either on Facebook or on YouTube, somebody's going to tell us. All right, first news.
All right, the first news. Why Indians are protesting two controversial laws that could leave millions of Muslims stateless. In recent months, protests have erupted across India due to two controversial laws that critics say target Muslim immigrants, and even those born in India. At odds are the country's deeply religious roots and its secular constitution. Milan Vaishnav, director and senior fellow at the Carnegie Endowment for International Peace, says India is a very poor country. Even today, only about 70% of births happen with an official birth certificate. So a lot of people cannot prove their citizenship status. They're worried that this essentially is going to disenfranchise a bunch of genuine citizens who simply are either too poor or come from the wrong community to be able to justify their existence. People who are not considered citizens fear being sent to detention centers, even though Prime Minister Narendra Modi has denied the camps exist. Across the country, Indians of all faiths have been protesting for months. They claim these laws go against the Constitution by deciding citizenship on the basis of religion. In the weeks and months to come, Muslims fear that their life in their homeland may get increasingly more difficult if they cannot prove Hindustan is home.
Right, so this has been going on for a while now, but the reason why we're
Mm-hmm.
covering it now is because the protests are just keep escalating and escalating and escalating. I don't know. A lot of people maybe in the West have been distracted by the election in the United States, and there are two important things right now happening, and the corona. Ooh, I can't say that. Don't mention the disease that is spreading around the world. YouTube doesn't like that. I almost said it. Don't say it. Okay.
Great,
No,
the virus.
okay, yeah, you can't say that. Those two news is covering, and this is two things that people are missing is the elections in Israel, but also this. Okay, India is going through an identity crisis right now, and there's a ton of protests happening. People are dying. People are being killed from both sides. There are attacks. One side has more people dying. I think you can guess which side is dying. But let's just address what's happening in India because a lot of other people are not talking about it. There's two different laws, two different acts, right, that are working together, and a lot of Hindu nationalists in India deny that this is the purpose of it, but it's really hard to deny it because a lot of their top officials, especially a lot of their Hindu nationalist BGP people, are openly admitting that this was the plan. Okay, so the two things that you need to remember, the two things that are working together separately, is one of them is the Citizenship Amendment Act, and the other one is the National Registration Act, right? So one of the way to figure out how this works is one of them is supposed to remove citizenship for people that can't prove they're citizen, and the other one is supposed to automatically give citizenship to people that are not Muslim. right? So it's like one kicks you out and the other one lets you back in, but no to the Muslims. So effectively, this is demographic engineering to get rid of Muslims, to make India a Hindu country. This is the Pakistanization of India. The same way that Pakistan is not a secular country, is an Islamic country. Um, India, India is superior to Pakistan because it's a secular country, and this secularism is being challenged right now, right? Because they're trying to use religion as a way to decide who's a citizen and who's not. And the way that the Hindu nationalists will come like, oh no, you don't understand, you didn't read the law, blah blah blah, you don't know what you're talking about. Why is, check the comment section, they're gonna come and say that, right? Is that they're gonna say like, listen, the one that is supposed to give citizenship to the people that are not Muslim, that's like for refugees. These are people in need. They need, this is supposed to be a humanitarian act to support the people. In Islamic countries, who are the people that are being oppressed? Who are the ones that are being oppressed? Are the non-Muslims, right? This is just a nice thing that we're doing for them. It's the Hindus, it's the Buddhists, it's the Jains, it's the blah, 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 right? This law is supposed to support them, right? But they don't tell you. But the problem is that, okay, if this law was supposed to help refugees, why is it based on religion, right? Why is it saying that we accept everyone as refugee? Come make your refugee cases, but not the Muslims, right? Why is it based on religion? This is they say, well, they will say, well, look, because look, in the countries that are next to us, Bangladesh, Pakistan, I don't know, Iran, these are Islamic countries. Well, not close to us, not just next to us, right? These are countries that Muslims are the oppressors, right? Okay, fine. Well, what about China, right? Muslims there are being oppressed, right? Why wouldn't you why wouldn't you make a refugee case based on anybody that is being oppressed? What about Burma, right? What about Burma? The Muslims there are being oppressed as well. And even in Islamic countries, right? In Shia countries, Sunnis are being oppressed, right? They're Muslim. In Sunni countries, Shias are being oppressed. What about them, right? They are Muslim as well. This is not about helping. Like, if you really want to think that this is about helping people, you completely, you usually demographic engineering, when governments engage in demographic engineering and trying to change the population, and usually it's about, when you do demographic engineering, it's about votes, right? The BGP party wants to stay in power, and they know that if they just get a whole bunch of immigrants that are Hindu and kick out the Muslims, this is the way that they stay in power, right? And this is something that people would openly admit, like about non-people outside of India will admit, okay, yeah, it seems like Indian nationalists are doing that, but they don't admit that about immigrants in other places. Because, the Hindu nationalists in India, they are the alt-right. They're the real alt-right that is growing in the world that most people are not talking about. But if the white nationalists were doing this, people would be talking about this. I mean, a lot of left-wing people are doing this with immigration as well. But this is the one that they're comfortable talking about. Anyways, so this is when they accept Hindus, but they don't accept Muslims if they want to become citizens. So if you're a Hindu and you want to become a citizen in India, you're just automatically accepted because you're a Hindu, right? But this National Registration Act tells people that, oh, you have to prove that you are a citizen of India, or else your citizenship might be taken away from you. And guess what? A lot of people do not have the documents to prove that they're citizen, right? A lot of people don't have the documents, especially poor people, and they're not even accepting passports apparently, or voter cards. Apparently they're not accepted, right? So I don't know what they need to prove. But guess what? If you don't have the documents to prove that you're a citizen, if you're a Hindu, you don't have to worry about it, because through the Citizenship Amendment Act, you could just be a citizen, no problem. But if you're a Muslim, you're screwed. And a lot of people were saying, like, a lot of Hindu nationalists were saying, like, No, they're not screwed. No, it's gonna be fine. They're gonna find a way to. They're gonna find a way to prove that they're citizen. Because the government is gonna help them out. And now they're building detention centers. Like they're building giant detention centers. This is a huge admission that they're just gonna be camps, right? This is gonna be very similar like China arresting people for the crime of being Muslim, and this is going to be like they're preparing for that in India. So this is a huge admission of a lot of people are not going to be able to prove that they're citizens, right? So this is, by the way, for a lot of people, you have to understand this is also India doesn't really recognize Islam, Muslim, and Islam as two separate things, and ideology and from blood. They're confused about that, and like a lot of policies don't understand that. Oh, this is just Islam is just an ideology. So a lot of people are thinking that ex-Muslim atheists will be also in trouble because they're going to be categorized as Muslim even though they're not Muslim anymore. So this is a huge problem, and more people should be talking about it. You have to understand when we're talking India, right? We're talking about 1 billion people. We're talking about one. Rivka, you're breathing into the microphone. Sorry. We're talking about one out of every 7 person on the goddamn planet. Like when we're talking about news from other country, like it's just a small thing. But we're talking about when we're talking about oppression here, we're talking about oppression here on an astronomical level that is affecting more people than news from any other country that we usually report on, other than China actually. That usually have, so this should be China, and this should be headline news everywhere, not just in India, on the planet. But people are not talking about this. You don't understand. This is really bad for India. This is really bad for India because India is supposed to be a secular country. This is challenging the very core of what makes India a better country than compared to a country like Pakistan, right? So and by the way, don't when you see those Hindu nationalists that are angry and telling you, oh, you don't know what you're talking about in the comment section, just remember that not all Hindus in India are on their side. A lot of Hindus in India are calling BS on all of this, right? Not just the Muslims, not just the secularists, not just other people. A lot of Hindus in India are also against this. They're like, I love India because it's a secular country. So anyway, so it's not just like, don't believe the BGP people when they come and attack this. Anyways, Rivka, did you want to add anything to that?
No, basically you said everything. I did just want to tell people what the original Citizenship Act from 1955 says, that people are saying, that this amendment to it from 2019, which now refers to special privileges for everybody but Muslims. The original part of the Constitution that was made in 1955 says that a person is a citizen of India with their resident and people who are born in India, and they consider the president of India as the first citizen. And they've amended it several times, but they've just amended it by things like the parent couldn't be an illegal immigrant. But they still didn't mention religion at all or give any preference to any religion. So just wanted to bring that up.
This is what people, these BGP supporters, the Hindu nationalists, they can't explain. Just ask him this: why does it? Okay, oh, you want to help refugees and stuff. Why does it have to be based on religion? They have no explanation for that. They never say that. Like, why is it based on religion? Why is it based on who's a Muslim and who's not a Muslim? Why is it based on that? They have no good explanation for this, and every time you come and explain the story to them, no matter how much you look into it, they're like, oh, you don't understand the story, you haven't done your research, you haven't read anything, blah blah blah. And they're like, okay, explain it to me. And they have no defense. That's just all they say. They come and say like, oh, you don't understand, and then they go. It's like drive-by shooting. Like just like come in and come with your car. That's their. And again, I predicted this, and look, I'm looking at the top comments. It's actually that. Like, the top comment is by somebody with a Hindu god in their profile, so you know what side they're going to be. And Raj Ahuja, He's saying, I think it's a he. He's saying, sadly, the author of this report has not read or understood this law. Totally false report. Do you think this person would say that the author did not understand the law if the author agreed with their position? If basically this is the position. If you do not agree with my position, you have no idea what you're talking about. You have not read the law. You don't understand how law is supposed to work. But if you come to the conclusion as I have, then you have done your research properly. That is their position. The second top comment is by Shipra. Shipra is saying, "Oh boy, a storm of hate comments, explanations, and state apologists are coming your way. Wait for it." Yeah. By the way, this is a very this storm of people that come at you every time you attack India, the BJP party in India, is very intimidating. A lot of people. This is how it's done. This is what religious people do as well, right? Let's say you want to criticize Islam, or you want to criticize Christianity, or you want to criticize some Judaism, right? And there's some obvious thing in there that is absolute nonsense, right? But they come at you and they're like, well, did you know about this detail in this, scholar that wrote about this? Have you studied this? Have you studied Islamic hadith? Do you know how the chain of narration works? Have you studied the tafsir? Who's the greatest authorities in Islamic tafsir? Do you know this scholar? Have you studied? How many years of experience you have in studying Islamic? Are you a scholar? And you're like, a lot of people are like, oh no, maybe I shouldn't comment. We're talking about a man riding on a horse with a human face to the heaven and cutting the goddamn moon in half. Do you need to be a goddamn scholar to know that that's ridiculous? You don't need to be a scholar. And this is what these Hindu nationalists are doing with these laws and stuff. Like, have you read the entire act cover to cover, blah, blah, blah? Like, what are you talking about? You can see all the analysis, like, what this law is trying to do. Like, hey, one of them is saying, you need these documents to be a citizen, and you're like, people are like, well, we don't have those documents. The other one is saying like, hey, if you're a Hindu, don't worry about it. If you're a Muslim, we don't, like, how? It's not that complicated, guys. It's not that complicated. These people come at you like, oh, you're not Indian. Don't talk about my country. Oh, I'm from India, so I know all the details. Well, guess what? I have an army of people from India that are telling you that this is anti-secular as well. Just because you're from India, that doesn't make you an authority. I mean, based on the comments, don't let the people tell you that they know something about the country just because from there, okay? For Americans, I tell you this. Imagine the average American. Imagine the average American, how much they know about United States politics. Huh? Not much, right? So imagine the average Iranian, right? That's how much they also know about Iranian politics. Not much. These people, they're biased. A guy with a Hindu god as their profile picture, do you think this guy is going to be unbiased? No. Well, I mean, of course not. But people are like, well, Armin, you're not going to be biased. You're going to be biased as well. Of course I'm going to be biased. But guess what? I'll tell you my bias. My bias is against religion. And yes, that might affect the way I report the news and the way I comment. But at least you know, and you could take my comments with a grain of salt. I don't hide my bias. I'm biased against religion. I don't hide that. Anyways, Rivka?
No. I was going to say the next story kind of piggybacks
on
that if you want to talk to.
Yeah, let's go to... Wait. Next news, okay.
The next story. Delhi Muslims pray under armed guard after weeks of riots. So, Muslims in Delhi have held Friday prayers under the watch of riot police after a week in which 42 people were killed and hundreds injured during the city's worst sectarian violence in decades. Scores of mosques in the northeast of the Indian capital held their first sermons since mobs armed with swords, guns, and acid razed parts of the district. Paramilitary police patrolled the streets, which were still littered with broken shards of glass, stones, and other debris. If they burn our mosque, we will rebuild them again and pray, said Muhammad Suleiman, who was among about 180 men who prayed on the rooftop of a mosque that was set afire in the unrest.
Oof.
It's our religious right, and no one can stop us from practicing our religion. 5 days into the riots, 5 days after the riots started, hospitals were still trying to identify the dead as the toll continued to rise. So basically, if you've seen anything about this, you've seen a lot of videos where people are beating people in the street, destroying their homes, dragging people out of homes, dragging people away from hiding places. Police either standing idly by, leaving, or even in some videos I've seen participating, gathering stones for people. I mean, there were gunshot wounds, acid burns, stabbings, all kinds of things. I mean, it was a pogrom is what it was. And it was just absolute, violence without abandon.
So we have like in New Delhi recently, the BJP, is this because of the result of the elections in New Delhi where the BJP lost?
I know that Subham mentioned that, and
Shubham.
I didn't. Shubham, sorry, I was reading some. I didn't see that as something directly related to that in some of these articles, but it very well may, especially since that was something brought up. But in the articles that I was looking at with regard to this, they were talking about it in relationship to the two laws, and then also they're saying that the violence exploded on the eve of the Trump visit. The police are saying they.
So for people who have been in the cave, Trump just recently went to India,
and had like tens and tens of thousands of people. It was like a huge rally.
Millions.
Tens of thousands.
Okay, millions.
I think 100,000 even. 100,000, I thought. And the police are saying they detained more than 600 people. So
by the way, just to let you know, the BJP lost in New Delhi, but the police are based on the country's national government, right? So even though, by the way, this is the fact that the BJP lost in New Delhi doesn't mean that it shows to me that a lot of Hindus are against the BJP as well, right? It's not just the Muslims, it's not just the atheists and the secularists. It's a whole bunch of Rivka, can you, when you're not speaking, can you mute your microphone? It's a whole bunch of other Hindus as well. So, but the thing is that there's a lot of mobs in these cities that are attacking the anti-government protesters and killed, I think, around 50 so far. 50, but
106.
Wow.
No.
Okay.
100. No, 100.
100. Okay.
No,
okay.
50. I'm sorry. 56 and 100 people in hospital. Sorry.
Okay. So 56 people have died, and the police is not doing much about it because the police has a biased, again, and here's a bunch of Hindu nationalists will come and tell you, like, oh, why are you not mentioning the attacks Muslims did on the Hindus? Okay, here, I'm mentioning it right now. Muslims also attacked Hindus, but that has been much lower in number of deaths compared to the the killing of Muslims and the anti-government protesters. And also the difference is that the police arrests them really fast, but there seems to be a lot of protection again for the people that are attacking people who are against the government, right? So the police has some biases, and this is again another line of the argument is going to be, oh, where's your proof? I mean, where's your proof? Where is this based on? So again, you have to take this with a grain of salt. This is based on reports on people on the ground, right? So there, not when in chaotic situations like this, there's not going to be much. It's really hard to get complete unbiased news from the ground, right? Everybody has an agenda. Everybody is one-sided, but reports suggest, and again, you don't have to be, if you're not 100% sure about reports, just be like, this is what we're getting, this is what it's suggesting, and you could, change your opinion once evidence comes out. But it seems like now that the police, when the mobs are attacking and killing anti-government protesters, when the Hindu nationalists are killing, the police is like, there's even videos. I think Rivka, you even mentioned that you saw videos of the police providing stones to people to attack the anti-government. So not only the police is like, hey, do your thing. Some of the police are like, hey, here, if you want to throw rocks at Muslims, here's some rocks. Like we provide services to you. They're like, so people like, when people say like, oh, where's your evidence, you have to understand, when it comes to when it comes to coming up with conclusions, there's two methods. Okay, one method is to find hard evidence and be very sure about your position. The other method is to apply Occam's razor. Okay, you use Occam's razor when you do not have enough evidence, and based on the reports that you get from all sides, based on, you say like, oh, these people are saying these things, and these people from over there also that are not connected to these people seem to be saying the same thing. Well, and oh, there's a video that suggests that police are supporting are being biased, but I don't know, this is just one video, it's anecdotal, so it's not really evidence, but it does seems to be collaborating it seems to is the same as what the reports have gained. Then you apply Occam's razor, right? And Occam's razor, when you come up with conclusions based on Occam's razor, you come up with the most likely scenario, and you're not holding your conclusion as tight as you would have been if you have hard evidence. But it's still a conclusion that you're saying this is the most likely scenario. But the people that are defending like the BJP party and the Hindu nationalists, they only demand hard evidence, like, oh, where's your report? Where's your statistical analysis of the police being biased? They only apply that to the claims that goes against their narrative. They never apply that to stuff. If you say like, oh no, the Muslims in India are killing more people than Hindus, they're like, yeah, this is true. Like, you were like, where's your data? All right, like they just accept that. They just accept it because they're like, well, we hear the stories. Muslims are violent, blah blah blah. Islam is a violent ideology. Hinduism is not a violent ideology. Of course, you get this conclusion. So they're just very biased with the way they accept some story. And again, for people who are discovering us today and haven't heard our news before, they might feel like, oh, these guys are Muslim apologists. We're not, okay? We are, like, if you are thinking that, you have no idea who we are and what we do, okay? I burn a Quran and put it on video. I have attacked Islam more than I have attacked Hinduism for most of my life, okay? This is, just because I support the human rights of Muslims in India and the support of the human rights of Muslims in China, that does not mean I defend Islam. I want Islam to die as an ideology, and I have sacrificed a huge portion of my life to be a small step in making that happen sooner, to make Islam die earlier. And I think from all religions today, Islam is the most dangerous one. Okay? I say all of that while I defend Muslims' human rights against oppression of countries with governments like China and India. But go on, Rivka.
I was going to say, to add more to that point that you were making, is that this kind of violence too isn't about choosing a side either, because this kind of thing, all kinds of people are dying, even people in the government. This stuff doesn't spare anyone. It spins out of control and becomes chaotic, and it takes everybody down in its wake. They had an intelligence bureau officer was killed. A police officer was killed with a stone. They dumped another bureaucrat's body in a drain. I mean, people were burning down homes. They were dragging people out of other homes. Muslims were hiding with Hindus. Sikh people were taking them into their homes to protect them. And don't forget, some of these neighborhoods were mixed. So when these people were destroying the neighborhoods, they're destroying some of these neighborhoods that belong to everybody. It's just a ridiculous, reprehensible reaction. And that's what I mean by, like, it's a pogrom.
Right.
It becomes this mindless violence, and you hate somebody and you just set out to destroy everything.
So the top comment is by LJ. LJ is saying, if Allah is so powerful, why would they need protection to pray? Okay, first of all, two things. So it's not if in Islam, just because you think Allah, what the belief system does not tell you that, oh, Allah is powerful, so Muslims will never get hurt. In fact, in many Islamic ideologies, it's exactly the opposite. Especially in Shia Islam, it teaches you that, oh, because you're on the right side, you're going to experience a lot of oppression, and you have to struggle. Same as in Christianity, like, oh, you're gonna have to suffer. So they say Allah is powerful, but it doesn't mean that He's going to protect you at all times, right? So that's not Islamic. Another thing is that even if their ideology, like a lot of Sunnis used to believe in, or some of them believe now, is that, oh yeah, Allah will protect us. Even if that's people's ideology, that doesn't mean you don't help them. Like, if a Christian comes to you, if you see somebody in need and you could help them, but they're Christian and they think like, oh, if I pray, Jesus will help me, and they're hungry, and you have food, and you're completely comfortable letting go of your food, are you gonna be like, well, if this person is so hungry and they believe in Jesus, I'm not going to give them food because, Jesus, you think, go ahead and pray. I'm not going to give you food. Pray. Let's see if Jesus is going to help you. No, you don't punish people with violence and hunger and poverty because of their stupidity. You try to educate people. You try to help them. You don't make them suffer. The stupidity doesn't make you deserving of unhappiness. This is a lot of the problem that I have with a lot of atheists. They think like, oh, I'm an intellectual, I'm so smart. These people, well, they deserve it. They chose fairy tales instead of science, so now they're paying the price for it. No, most people on the planet are stupid. If you think stupid people deserve to be unhappy, that means that you think most of the planet deserves to be unhappy. No. If you think you're smart, if intellect is a very rare thing. Most people are not very intelligent. So what does that leave? What conclusion does that leave us with? That only the few select people on this planet that are intellectuals deserve to be happy, and everyone else could suffer. Look at what scientists have done for if these people are stupid, guess what? Me and you and most people that are watching are very stupid compared to most scientists, okay? And guess what scientists have? The scientists are a small fraction of our planet, and what they have done has benefited everybody. Everybody, like they have a very small fraction of the planet that are very, very smart, have made so much contributions to the planet that all of us are enjoying today, right? So. And they're not like, oh, this is just for scientists. Well, scientists come up with science, so why should we share this with non-scientists, right? No, okay? So if they're not doing that to us, you shouldn't do that with stupid people as well, all right? We should care for everybody and want them to be happy, even if they believe in nonsense like Islam or Hinduism. We got a super chat from Angel. Thank you, Angel. That's very...
Hey, Angel. I wanted to make a comment about what you were just talking about.
Okay.
I think that also this mindset of like, if they believe in dumb stuff serves them right, that, they can just suffer. I think that that's like a really tribal mindset, and it's very religious, because that's what religious people say. Well, the reason that you're suffering is because you don't believe in the right thing, which
Mm.
is our story, our magic sky friend, our
Right.
angels, our whatever. And our tribe, our ideas, our ideology, and that's made us special, and that's why you're suffering, or that's why this bad thing happened to you. And I think that kind of thinking is really divisive in the end as well. And
Yeah.
it's sort of a religious type of mindset.
Well, I mean, it's a human type of mindset, the tribal
For
mindset.
sure.
Yeah, but
Oh, yeah, for sure. I wasn't saying it wasn't. I was
yeah,
just piggybacking off of
yeah,
what you said.
yeah, and by the way, I need to read the super chat. Angel is saying harming physically somebody is wrong, regardless of the reasoning. Love you guys and glad to be back. Ah, thank you. And yeah, I mean, just let me actually read the. I was gonna say something very special, but I forgot. Ashish saying, still these dogs are preying to on the road. Okay, yeah, calling people dogs is not nice. Don't call people dogs. It's an insult to both the people that you're calling dogs and an insult to dogs as well. Why is dog an insult? Dog, why is dog an insult? I never understand. Why has dog become an insult? Dogs are nice. But I remember what I was gonna say. I was gonna say just because we're saying that stupid people should be happy, and we should make the planet Earth work for everybody, including stupid people. That doesn't mean that we're saying that, oh, don't try to make them less stupid. We're not saying that. Attack stupid ideas. Make fun of stupid ideas. Mock stupid ideas. It's fine to make fun of their stupidity. It's fine to try to point out how ridiculous their beliefs are. You should not only it's a fine thing to do, it's a great thing to do. You should do that, but you should do that because you care for them, not because you hate them. All right, it not because you want to, because and even if it doesn't work, even if people remain stupid, even if you think their ideas are ridiculous, and you should point out that their ideas are ridiculous, and they stay stupid, you should still want them to be happy. Okay, maybe they get offended by the things that you say. Maybe they go home like, oh my god, these people are so offensive, they're making fun of them. But you should want them to have food, have a comfortable life, not live in poverty, have safety. Okay, I don't care that they just get offended because of what I said about Allah. That's not that big of a deal. Okay, they can get over that. Okay, that level of harm is not that big. Like if they go home like, oh my god, these people were so disrespectful. They said they mocked Muhammad. That's so hurtful. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, they can get over that. Okay, but if that level of harm is fine, but you shouldn't want them to suffer more than that. You shouldn't want them to be being go into concentration camp by Chinese government and stuff. Okay, that's like you have passed. You're insane now. Okay, you're a psychopath if that's the level of harm you wish for people. The top. So what another comment is, Saad is saying, is it not a terrorist attack? What do you say for this? Are they not human beings? Where is human rights? You are a democratic country. Oh, okay. So see, this top comment was very, not is not grammatically correct, but was the most sane top comment among the two. So this is why, when you point people's grammar and like, oh, your English is horrible, you're not making a point, because look, the two comments that were the English was good were horrible, and the comment that the English was is a train wreck was actually a more sane comment. Okay, so let me see if some people tag us and say something in the live chat. Dave is saying in the YouTube live chat, absolute shame what's going on in India. This Hindutva government has, I think you meant to say fascist inclination, right? Something. Is that what you're trying to say? Dave is saying, hopefully the Indian people will see through the backwards of BGP and elect people who care for their fellow Indian citizens, regardless of faith. Well, this is what the BGP is trying to fix by bringing in a whole bunch of other Hindus from other countries so that they could they stay in power forever. Dave is saying, sadly, in third world countries, life seems cheap. Okay, so another person regarding my dog comment is saying, dog is an insult because some people abuse them with no consequences. Well, then that shouldn't make it an insult. That should make it a symbol of oppression. Then, um, Sunad is saying, "LOL, Allah can save His people." See, I already responded to that. Rivka, did you want to add anything before we go to the next news? No. Okay.
No, just that dogs are awesome and they're super smart, and sometimes they're better than people. That's all.
Okay. All right.
All right.
Well,
Next news?
Yes, next news.
All right. So this particular piece of news, we actually discussed it before back in February, but this is just some more about it. Christian mother tries defending her guide to hitting kids. She was the one who said it has to hurt. The Christian blogger Lori Alexander has a long history of saying the worst possible thing in every situation. But this week, a few screenshots began circulating of comments she made several months ago in which she described smacking her children. In one case, she talked about hitting her kid for 4 hours straight. In another, she said it has to hurt or else they won't learn a lesson. And in yet another, she claims to have used a foot-long strap. So this is the same woman who we talked about, I think February 15th, whatever week that was. Yeah, she has a blog. Her name's Lori Alexander, and her blog is called, I think,
it doesn't matter.
Something woman. But anyways, she said that she places everything in her story is about this quote from Timothy 3:5, and what she's trying to do is
get
women to follow in the ways of God and get them to listen to other women. And again, this is about corporal punishment and spanking. And she basically is just talking about making excuses. I didn't really, because I listened to her apology. I didn't really say that. I misspoke. I didn't really say 4 hours. No one could really. And then she went into this weird tangent about saying no one could really spank or hurt their child for 4 hours unless you were a professional athlete and you had ungodly muscles. It would just be impossible, which just seemed weird and ridiculous, and that people are always trying to twist her words, and it was very strange. And then I also looked up, corporal punishment, which again, like I said last time, it's legal in all 50 states. And then in 2014 in New York, there was a Supreme Court case that said that it was reasonable use of force for a child to use an open hand to hit his 8-year-old boy who had cursed. And 19 states allow corporal punishment in public and private schools. And in 2013, they did a poll in the United States, and they found that 81% of Americans say that parents spanking their children is sometimes appropriate, while 19% said it's never appropriate. So while this woman is saying things that some people think is extreme, the majority of Americans actually are okay with hitting their kids.
Yeah, it's in the Bible, so that's what makes it so dangerous. By the way, we got another super chat. 40, I don't know what. By the way, I love how we get super chats from different currencies. Shows how international our audience is. But the super chat is from Divyanshu Mehta. So thank you so much for that super chat. 40, I think that was the Indian currency, but thank you for that. And okay, so what do you think? Do you think it's okay to hit a child for punishment?
According to the American Psychological Association, I went on their site, and they say that according to them, that it can lead to increased aggression, antisocial behavior, physical injury, and mental health problems.
Right.
But they also said that Americans' acceptance of physical punishment has declined since the 60s, yet the surveys say that 2/3 Americans still approve. They also say that spanking doesn't work, and you can't punish behaviors out of kids that you want. You have to use, positive reinforcement. And, they
Okay.
talk a lot about how it doesn't work.
Right. So, by the way, the reason people might be like, "Hey, didn't we cover this woman 2 weeks ago?" Yeah, the reason why we're covering it again is because she came out with a explanation defending herself. So that's why it's back on the news, right? The way.
Oh, I need to say one thing. I'm sorry. I need to amend something. I am wrong. She is the wrong Christian blogger who is talking about Timothy 3:5. Sorry, that's another female Christian blogger. I got my notes
But
mixed
this
up.
is where
Sorry.
that's where they all get it from. It's from the Bible,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
But
But I just wanted to amend the record.
okay, the way I look at it is, and this might be a very naive way of looking at it because, so please tell me how stupid I'm being, in the comment section. But the way I look at it is that why is it illegal for you to punish an adult by hitting them, but it's not illegal to do that with a child? Like if my dad comes to me and he doesn't like my behavior now and he slaps me in the face, I could legally, I could, it's criminal, right? I could actually legally, I could call the cops on him. Like, this I'm a grown ass man, and so somebody just hit me in the face, like, and I unprovoked, right? But if I'm younger, that becomes legal. I don't understand how we have two, don't children deserve more protection by the government than adults? So I don't understand how we do how. So how does this work? Why is it okay? Why is it illegal to hit adults, but it's legal to hit children? Just doesn't make sense to me. Again, I know maybe this sounds stupid. You could correct me. This is not a fair comparison. So let me know why that's not a fair comparison. Let me see what the comments are. So
I don't think children have actual specific rights for some things, and I'm not sure that all their rights are laid out in the same way. I could be wrong, but
there's no they're human rights. I'm pretty sure children are human. So
I know,
right.
but I mean,
I don't think. I mean, if you we don't have like, okay, what are the murder laws for adults and what are the murder laws for children? We don't have that, right? Like, what are? I mean, do we?
well,
I mean,
that's part of those sort of like personhood laws. No, I'm serious. These are part of a larger discussion. So, for example, laws in a lot of states that are trying to define when someone is a person also go along with this exact question, like personhood. Does personhood begin when you're in the womb? Does personhood begin when you're out of the womb? When do you apply those rights? When can they apply to you? These are actual questions that actually go to some of what you're saying.
But what I'm saying is that I think most people agree that children are people. That's what I'm saying. And they deserve to be protected, not just as much as adults, but more than adults, I think, because they're more vulnerable. Carol is saying it's often unseen and invalidated. Sorry, it's often unseen and invalidated abuse children suffer in the name of saving their soul by the very people who are supposed to love them. I often say if beliefs prevent parents from loving their whole child, then it can't be divine or holy. If anything, it's the opposite. I mean, I don't accuse. Okay, so here's the thing. Let's not say that if you hit your children, you don't love your children. Because they might love your children. They'll be like, oh, I hate this, but this is what works, so I'm hitting them because I love them. Blah, blah, blah. So they might be wrong, and I think that's stupid. Studies suggest that it doesn't work. But I think we can't just be like, oh, if you hit your children, you don't love your children. I don't think that's fair. Anyways, let's go.
Also, that type of parenting is what a lot of people grew up with. So oftentimes when you're frustrated, things are going well, you're modeling what you're used to, you know? And sometimes you do grab the kid and smack them on the butt because that's what happened to you. And before, you know, and you regret it or you
Right.
realize I was pushed to the limit. So no, you don't. It's not always a case of awful abuse either.
Okay. So let me close this. Next news.
The next news is a pastor says, I will stop coronavirus, but only
you should
within
have
the.
said that. With this video.
Sorry, it's,
Okay, guys.
it's in the.
This
The
is guys,
virus.
too late.
It's in the.
no,
I'm
too
sorry,
late.
I forgot.
No.
It was
So
in the
guys,
headlines.
this video, this live stream is now completely nuked by YouTube because we mentioned the virus that we're not supposed to mention. Because YouTube is stupid. Apparently, the most important topic in the world right now that everybody's talking about, we're not allowed to talk. No, not the most important. The most popular topic, we're not supposed to talk about it. So please share our videos because we don't just get demonetized, we get deprioritized. That means that we don't get suggested. So given that we say things that we're not supposed to say, please share our videos so that we actually show up in front of people's eyes. Okay. Okay, go on.
All right, I'll try again.
No,
Pastor said,
all right, actually,
I will stop the virus that shall not be named.
Hold on, Rivka. Let's start from here, and then our editor, she can cut from here, so at least the short videos doesn't have the mention of the virus in there. Okay. So
okay. Well, can I say the word virus?
Yeah, you can say virus, but it starts from here. Okay. By the way, let me guys tell you something. I don't even know if I can mention on the name of our editor because she's being targeted and attacked and like she's in danger because of her atheism. So look, this is the stuff that the Atheist Republic team has to deal with, right? I can't even publicly thank our editor by mentioning her name. So let's just thank her without mentioning her for all the great job.
Thanks, editor.
Yes, thanks, editor. All right, start from here.
1, 2, 3, now. Pastor says, I will stop the virus that shall not be named, but only within the borders of the U.S.
Okay, so by the way, when we say for people that are watching the short version of this video, you know which virus we're talking about, but YouTube doesn't like us mentioning it, so that's why we're not naming it. But go on. Oh, and we got another super chat from Angel for the
thank you, Angel,
for the swear jar. But go on, thank you. All right, go on.
Conspiracy theorist Rodney Howard Brown, best known for his holy laughter-based religious ceremonies, wants you to know that he has the power to prevent the spread of the recent strain of the virus that shall not be named, but only within the boundaries of the U.S. He knows this because he stopped the Zika virus in Florida. We destroyed and declared. We cursed that thing in the name of Jesus, and Zika disappeared. We are doing the same thing with the virus that shall not be named. We do not need it on these shores. And obviously, somebody said, but what about the rest of the world? I mean, I can't be responsible for every city or whatever. So that's the story. He cannot be responsible for every city or whatever. So he was preachy, but only with regards to the United States.
Why? Like, aren't you supposed to, as a Christian, care for all humans around the planet? Like, isn't that how it's supposed to work?
He just shown that Christian love, but only for Florida.
Okay. So we got another super chat from Dam Jones. He or she's saying, hope this helps offset the demonetization. That is very sweet. Thank you so much for that. So
apparently the Almighty has his limits and they end at the borders of the United States.
Like, do they actually think like this is how it works? Like Jesus is like, okay, I got a prayer, in my inbox. Let me see who this guy prayed for. Apparently, it just stopped. Like, okay, I guess I'm supposed to help people within the borders of this. So, like, I'm not gonna go beyond that because this specific prayer is just for the people of the. Like, do they actually think like this is how it works? I don't know. Like these people. Okay, I don't.
There's a lot of I've heard a lot of people, and I've seen even pictures and videos and all kinds of things about the Constitution of the United States and Jesus and God, and all of this is wrapped up together. Like Jesus
Mm,
hand delivered the Constitution to
yeah.
Thomas Jefferson, sort of idea. So,
Yeah, it's very interesting how a lot of religious people that are also nationalists, they're not happy. They can't be content that, okay, I have my nationalism and I also have my religion. And they're both great. They're like, no, I have to connect these somehow together, right? I cannot, I cannot comprehend these two being two separate ideologies. It's too complicated. I have to make my views one dimensional. It all has to fit together, okay? So, hey, America is great. Christianity is also the religion. Like, oh, this is God's chosen country. Like, it has to. This is I have like this is what Iran has done masterfully, right? Because Iran is an Islamic country. It's not an Arab country. Muhammad was an Arab prophet, and they're like, how can we make Iran so special? Like, this is an ideology that was came from foreign land to us, and it was forced on this country. But now we're Muslim, but we need to make Iran a special country in the guys in the eyes of Allah. So they're like, oh no, the true Islam is Shia Islam, and only Iran got it right. So Iran is the center of Shia Islam. So yeah, the Arabs lost it. Most of the Arabs lost it, and Iran is God's chosen country as the place to defend Islam. So it's not just the Christians or United States. A lot of countries, a lot of religious people try to make their country, and in Iran they have come up with a lot of genius gymnastic, genius quote unquote arguments, like very elaborate, I should say, arguments for why Iran is so special in the eyes of Allah. But yeah, anyways, I think we spend enough time on this one.
that's probably
But
enough time on this
but let
guy,
me
as
just
far
tell
as I'm
guys,
concerned.
tell everybody, just make sure you wash your hands, don't touch your faces, and all of that.
And don't panic. Panic
Don't
never
panic.
helps anybody.
Well, it does panic. Sometimes it does. If you're being chased by a lion, panic. Okay.
No,
Pa-
you should calmly run.
what?
Panicking, you can't make proper decisions.
No,
Okay.
no panic. No panics make sometimes is that's the adrenaline rush that makes you make decisions within seconds that you didn't know you're capable of making. So I don't know if it's always a bad idea. Anyways, let's go to the next
Number
news.
5.
Yes.
Idaho lawmakers pass resolution to install "In God We Trust" sign in chambers. So, the Republican dominated Idaho legislature has overwhelmingly passed a resolution to display the words "In God We Trust" above the chairs of the presiding officers in each chamber. The
What?
state house voted 65 to 5 in favor of it, while the state senate approved 29 to 3 with 3 abstentions. House Concurrent Resolution 32 is nothing more than a loophole to inject the Christian God into the government while hiding behind the excuse that this is merely about patriotism because it is our national motto. Majority Leader Chuck Winder, Republican of Boise, said the intent of the legislation isn't to promote or protect any particular religion. Rather, he said, it's to give lawmakers a sense of why we're here, a sense that we can look to other things in our world that we trust, that we need to set a high standard while we're here. So, couple things about this. There were some abstentions. One of them was a Democrat named David Nelson from Moscow, Idaho, and he said that this is a quote from him, "We're a government of the people of Idaho, all the people." He said, "To me, putting the words 'in God we trust' places a finger on the scale of government in favor of religious people, especially those who believe in a Christian God. I mean, what about the Jews, the Buddhists, the Native American, the Muslims, the secular people, the atheist, among many others? Some recognize a God while others do not. It's one of my religious core principles," he said, "is to respect the inherent worth and dignity of every person. And this principle doesn't lead me to support any religious message as part of our government."
And this was a religious
So
person that said this?
this is a guy who is a Democrat who opposed it, and
But
obviously is one of
while
the people who voted against it.
while being religious himself.
Yeah, because he believes that it, and in my opinion, rightly so, it puts the thumb on the scale and
Right.
violates the spirit and the letter of the First Amendment. And it doesn't govern impartially with respect to religious freedom. And then there was a senator, Republican, who was the only other senator to debate this. And he said the complete opposite. And these guys want to have it both ways. They want to talk about religious liberty, but they only mean their liberty. And they want to talk about freedom, but only the freedom for them to do things. So he's saying, this guy, this Republican named Jim Rice, said, he quoted from the Declaration, "All men are endowed by their Creator with inalienable rights." And then he goes on to say, "Our Creator is God and we trust him." And then he said, "I believe when we remember God and that he is the source of our rights, we govern better. We defend liberty better, even for those who don't believe in God." So he's saying that even if you don't believe in God, we need to put God there because he's above everything. And then he also mentioned, and this is that the cost is not being paid for by the government, it's being donated. And then he goes on to say that in countries where God's been removed, where the free practice of religion, which again goes back to when they made it our motto, talking about godless communists, we see totalitarianism, we see communists, we see millions of people murdered. He said, "Why do people come to our country? Because of our beliefs that all people are equal, except for people who don't believe in God and who don't want religion shoved down their throats."
How is this? This is unconstitutional. This is against
Well,
this.
yeah, I mean, they're saying in a lot of these Supreme Court cases, they're basically saying that saying God is not, even though it's religious, it's not religious. Just like they found in Missouri that crosses, even though they're a religious symbol, are actually secular.
Wait,
So
what? Okay, so this is definitely against the U.S. Constitution.
but they're finding for it all the time.
Okay,
They're
but
claiming that it's
how is this? This is not going to stand, right? Somebody should be able to challenge this. This is allowing religion.
Freedom from Religion
one
Foundation probably will,
Yeah.
but they may not win.
Who could? Were they saying God? The word God is not religious. What the hell is it then? God is not religious.
So let me just say that this is only one of a myriad of "In God We Trust" display bills that are all over the United States as of late. So all over schools in 2018 and in 2019, you had a bunch of states, primarily southern states, 6 of them, pass legislation requiring or allowing public schools to display it. So we had Louisiana, Arkansas, Tennessee, Florida, Alabama, and Arizona, either requiring explicitly or allowing schools, districts that wanted to display "In God We Trust." We also had South Dakota. Then we also had North Carolina, Pennsylvania, Oklahoma had proposed bills. Oklahoma, I believe, passed theirs. Kentucky drafted a bill.
So is nobody challenging these?
People are challenging them. Freedom from Religion Foundation has. But the Supreme Court has declared a lot of these to be, excuse me,
So this is
you
this
know,
what?
has said that a lot of these are okay.
That
That
doesn't make any
they're
sense.
not
Guys,
actually.
it's
Yeah, that's
hold
why
on.
it's
Okay,
frustrating.
this is a lot of people don't see this as a threat. This is an absolute threat to your country's secularism. If you value secularism, you should be you guys should be worried. Guys should be very worried, and this is why organizations like Freedom from Religion Foundation, they need your support because they are at the front. Are at the front line of making those cases. Rivka, I can hear myself talking when you touch
Sorry,
when you
sorry.
touch the microphone. So be you know you understand that if you want to allow religion inside your government, they're not going to come one day and be like, oh, we didn't have religion in government yesterday, but now we're passing laws based on religion, right? It doesn't work like that. It starts with, making the case for why it's okay to have in God we trust, in chambers, of government. Like that's how it starts. That's how once you have that case, once the courts approve that, now you have opened the door to make the next case for the next thing, right? You don't. This is not about religious freedom, because nobody is taking these people's freedom away to practice their religion, right? Like for example, if you this is just, the law is that they can't have it inside government. Nobody's like, oh, what about religious freedom? For example, in the United States, you could, you have the complete freedom, right, to swear, use naughty words. You have the freedom to do that. But try doing that at your job. There's some rules that, you get fired, right? Does that mean that you don't have the freedom to use certain words? You have the freedom to use certain words. But just because it's the same thing here. These people can believe in their God, can worship their God, can pray as much as they want. Just because they can't bring it into government, that doesn't mean their freedom of practicing their religion is being challenged. It's not being challenged. But if they successfully make that case that, listen, my freedom is being violated if I can't have who's the sign harming? It's just are you worried about the sign? In God we trust. Who is it hurting? Is it? Oh, you're an atheist. Are you? Is your atheism being challenged by my sign here? Like, what is that doing? It's not hurting anybody. Just let it happen there. So once that stays there, and once everyone's like, okay, fine, let's have a sign. A sign is not anything. Now you have made the case that it's okay for government officials to have religion because you're like, oh, it's not hurting anybody, and freedom of religious practice also means that I could have it inside government institutions. Now you just open the floodgates, man. You understand what you're doing here? And people are like, oh no, you're exaggerating. This is a slippery slope fallacy. I would agree with that if that has not happened a million goddamn times everywhere else, where this has been the method to challenge secularism everywhere. This is not something that we're just predicting, like, oh, this could happen. This has happened. This is how it's done. This is how secularism dies. If you have no idea how many people have bled, how many people have suffered for your country to enjoy certain rights and freedom and certain values that is so unique in history and is so geographically unique, and you have no idea how lucky you are to be born in a country where these values are the rule of law. And you're just giving it away because you're like, yeah, it's just a sign, it's just a sign. You are not defending things that your ancestors have suffered so much for you to be able to just be so ungrateful about it and just enjoy it today. You defend your secularism because if you lose it again, it's going to be very, very hard to get it back. By the way, this is why you should vote. Go.
So, Armin, you said slippery slope. This is how it happens. We already know. It's more than that. The people who are doing this will tell you this is exactly what they're doing. This is part of a concerted legislative advocacy push known like colloquially as Project Blitz. It's led by the Congressional Prayer Caucus, National Legal Foundation, some other Christian groups. They are pushing for Bible literacy class in school. They're trying to change state legislatures to recognize the place of Christian principles in the nation's history so that they can bring it into legislation and legislature. And they've actually set out a whole policy agenda. They have a whole legislative report that you can look up about this. And you're absolutely right about challenging it. And the thing is, it's, very precarious right now because these bills have been passed everywhere. And again, we had that ruling, and I think we even talked about it in Missouri about the crosses that were a war memorial, that the Supreme Court ruled that crosses are culturally a secular symbol.
Right.
It's a dangerous, slippery slope.
All right, let's go to hold on. Next news.
Okay, the next news is again about religion in the United States. Most Americans don't see Democratic candidates as very religious. So, religion has been a topic of conversation during the Democratic presidential primary, and some candidates have pointed out how their religious beliefs have shaped their political positions. But Americans don't consider the Democratic candidates to be particularly religious, according to a new Pew Research survey that covers 4 of the top contenders: Joe Biden, Pete Buttigieg, Bernie Sanders, and Elizabeth Warren. Well, things have changed a little bit since this poll came out, but Sanders is considered as not to or not at all religious.
I think he's the least religious among all of them, isn't he?
By 6 in 10 Americans, I would say so. Just as a third of respondents say Sanders is at least somewhat religious, including only 4% who say he's very religious. Biden is the only candidate who is considered at least somewhat religious by more than half of U.S. adults, 55%, although fewer than 1 in 10 describe him as very religious. If elected, Biden, who often talks about his faith on the campaign trail, would be the country's second Catholic president after John F. Kennedy. So this is interesting because, again, it talks about religion in public life and how important it seems to be to people to have to declare this publicly. And I think it's really interesting that they're not seeing certain candidates as religious, because I found that, for example, they didn't find Buttigieg very religious at all. And I thought he seemed overtly religious.
Yeah,
like he talked about it a lot.
Yeah, he was.
And but he was seen as somewhat religious by only 28% and not at all by 25%. So, and then a lot of this demographic was broken down by party. So Republicans were less likely to view Democratic candidates as religious. So if you compared Republicans to Democrats, 70% of Democrats thought Joe Biden was somewhat or very religious, compared to 37% of Republicans. And when you get to Bernie Sanders, 50% of Democrats thought he was not at all religious or not very religious, whereas 74% of Republicans thought he was not at all religious.
So let me say something that actually a lot of people might be a bit controversial among our community, because I think a lot of atheists might disagree with me on this, and some people might even be surprised that. Rivka, can you mute your microphone? Because I hear. But a lot of atheists might even be surprised that I'm saying this. But I think if there were 2 candidates, okay, that in all other policies and positions were completely equal. But one of them was an atheist, and the other one was a Christian. And the Christian candidate really had an agenda to defend secularism, but the atheist candidate really didn't have much of an agenda to fight for secularism and separation of church and state. I would vote for the Christian. I would vote if a Christian, and everything else, it was equal. If the Christian candidate were like, listen, I'm a Christian, but here's my record for fighting secularism, and if I'm elected, I'm gonna really dedicate a portion of my presidency making sure that the wall between church and state is upheld. And the atheist candidate were like, no, I don't think that's that big of an issue. I don't care. I would vote for the Christian one in this situation, right? Because I care more about the policies and what the effect on people's lives more than if their personal beliefs is not going to affect their policies. Why should I care about their personal beliefs? So that's one thing. Do you agree with that, Rivka?
Yes, I don't want to vote for someone based on some other ideology, whether it's atheism, whether it's they're religious or non-religious. I want to talk about their character, their policies, what they're going to do, how I think they're going to enact them. I think so too. But I think what's really interesting about this, but also frustrating about this as an American, as an atheist, as a secularist, is how this isn't really even about people's beliefs. It's a specific tool, because a lot of this has been going on for a long time. Since the 90s, the Republicans have tried to kind of own religion as a strategy of the right and kind of make Christianity, especially, the party of the Republicans.
Right.
And make it, it was a serious strategy.
That's too much. Let's.
But this is really part of this discussion, because they're making it seem like God is on the side of the Republicans, and then the Democrats, who I actually applauded them in 2012 about taking God out of their platform. Because it doesn't necessarily need to be in a political platform, because it's a secular country, even though they did talk about faith. And at one point when they took it out, all these references to God, even though they did talk about God-given potential, the Republican platform mentioned God 12 times. As soon as they took it out, the uproar was so crazy. And then everyone's saying, you can't do this. They're going to use it against us. We'll lose, which they did. And the next day, they put it back.
Okay, so when it comes to this election, it seems like, if it was Bernie versus Trump, okay, we potentially could have been talking about, we don't know, but potentially could have been talking about one secret atheist versus another secret atheist for the first time in an election, right? But again, even if we know that Trump doesn't really care much about Christianity, he could be an atheist. A lot of people think like they know, but I don't know how they know, but he could be an atheist. But it doesn't really matter, because he's the worst option when it comes to defending secularism, which shows to me that, again, I do care about personal beliefs, but as much as I care about how much your personal beliefs is going to affect policies, right? So for Trump is a great example of how not Christian you can be, and how devastating for secularism it could be at the same time, right? He's the best option for people that want religion in politics, and the damage that he has done in the past 4 years when it comes to the Supreme Court is going to last for the United States for many, many years to come. And if he gets another 4 years, which he very much might, he's going to increase that damage by a lot more. It seems like, by the way, I know a lot of people are not going to like this, but it seems like it's going to be Biden versus Trump, and things could change. Biden, like just last week, it was It seemed like it was going to be Bernie versus Trump, but now it seems like it's going to be Biden versus Trump, unless something really major changes, and it could, but something significantly big has to change for Bernie to come back to be the front runner. It seems unlikely right now. I know people don't like to hear that, but seems very unlikely. But things can happen. And again, if it's Biden versus Trump, I would be very surprised to see Trump lose. I think I might be wrong about this, but I think Trump is going to wipe the floor with Biden. But we got a super chat with Susanna for Susanna. Thank you so much, Susanna, for the $5 super chat. The super chat says the only God I pray to is the YouTube algorithm asking for mercy on behalf of Atheist Republic. Oh, that's the best. That is amazing. I love that. I'm gonna save that. I'm gonna save that somewhere. Thank you, Susanna. Thank you for the super chat. That was very generous. All right, what do you think?
About me, I mean, I have a lot of opinions about it. I mean, I've said this before. I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm so wrong that I have to stand on the street corner with a placard that says I was wrong. But I think Trump's going to win again. I mean,
Yeah.
doesn't matter who's running.
I think
honestly.
Bernie had a high. I mean, I might be wrong about this. I think if you guys wanted to defeat Trump, you should have gotten Bernie has a. I think Bernie would have done a lot better in debates. Hold on, Bernie would have done a lot better in debates against Trump than Biden. I mean, again, I don't want people to be like people that don't keep voting and all that. I just don't understand why people think Biden has it. Like, if you really people that really want to defeat Trump, I really want to see their logic. Why would you send somebody that can't finish a sentence against Trump, who is? And if you, by the way, for people that listen to Trump's speeches only through like late night comedians, they might think like Trump can't finish a sentence either. But if you actually listen to Trump rallies, Trump speak, he's like a natural comedian, man. Like, as much as I hate his policies and all that, this man can talk. Like, he knows how to play an audience, and Biden doesn't. And it's going to be he's gonna like really, it's gonna be a bloodbath. Like, I don't know, unless Biden all of a sudden changes in the next couple of months or stuff, because Biden used to be very good at debates, right? He used to be very good at debates. Now he can't. Now he's not. Now he doesn't even. Sometimes he doesn't even seem to know where he is. At some time, he doesn't know what he's talking to. He doesn't know how to finish a sentence. Sometimes he forgets what he was talking about, and then tries to goes on a tangent. But anyways, Trump is not like that. Again, Trump. People think like, oh, he's when you look at late night comedy and you just take off, because he talks a lot. Okay, somebody that talks a lot is obviously, you can find out you're gonna misspeak a lot if you talk a lot. And if you take all of those times that Trump misspoke and said something like had gaffes and stuff, and just select those and put it in late night comedy shows and just listen to those, he's gonna seem like he's just as bad as Biden. But no, he's not as bad as Biden. He's great. Trump is great at talking. Just look at recently his clip against when he spoke again, when he made fun of Bloomberg. I don't know if you guys saw that was like 2 minutes that he attacked Bloomberg. That was like perfect. He was like a comedian. Like, that could have, his delivery, it was funny. The audience loved it. Like, even the people that hate Trump couldn't stop laughing at the way that Trump was delivering those jokes. It was perfect. It was genius. And you're putting Biden against that guy, you guys gonna lose. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Maybe Biden will win against Trump, but if you wanted to guarantee higher chances of winning against Trump, I think Bernie would have been your best option. But yeah, again, we might have 4 more years of Trump. Susanna saying, glad I make you laugh today. Oh, thank you. Another super chat by Susanna. So nice. She continues by saying, so nice to see two lovely people smile. Also, Armin, your new haircut looks good. And Rivka, your tattoos are badass. Oh, that's so sweet.
Thank you.
That's so sweet. Thank you so much for the super chat. That's so sweet. Let me see what the top comments are. The top comment is by Jim, who's the top fan, saying, Jim is saying this is good. Religion should be kept completely out of politics, and I think they all should be secularists if any of them want to hold public office. Yeah, but again, what I'm saying is that you could be an atheist that doesn't keep religion out of politics, or at least non-religious, just like Trump, and you could be a religious person that is very dedicated to secularism. And when it comes to voting, I say always go for the person that is dedicated to the secularism, regardless of their personal beliefs. That's what, as an atheist that hates religion, that thinks religion needs to die, I would vote for the religious person that is dedicated to secularism over the atheist or the non-religious person that seems to be pandering to religious people and allowing religion in politics. All right. Did you want to add anything to any of this before we go to the next news?
No, I think we should, because we still have a number of news items.
Yeah.
So this one is another news item that, again, is just kind of a sequel, more of something we talked about a couple weeks ago. Virginia becomes the first southern state to ban conversion therapy for minors. We had talked about Virginia LGBTQ protections for southern state a few weeks ago. This is more of the same. Virginia became the first southern state to ban the harmful practice of conversion therapy as it applies to minors. Governor Ralph Northam proved last month that Virginia really is for lovers when he supported a bill to protect LGBTQ folks from discrimination. Now he has signed a bill that will finally ban conversion therapy, the dangerous process by which religious figures attempt to change the orientation of LGBTQ children. In approving the bill, Northam referenced his roots as a doctor for kids. He's a neurologist, I believe. The move in Virginia comes just over a month after Utah, a heavily Mormon state, banned the use of bigoted and discredited practice of using on LGBT children, although Utah left a loophole for certain religious practices. Virginia is the 20th state to take such a step, but the first in the South. So basically, this is just another sort of shout out to Virginia for being the first in the South to ban conversion therapy practice where people pray out the gay. And it's interesting, too, especially because the governor of Virginia is a pediatric neurologist. So when he's saying that conversion therapy is discriminatory junk science, it's dangerous and harmful, he's not just saying it as a person, a father, an opinion. No, he's a pediatric neurologist. So he studies the brains of children. So he's saying it from a position of authority and education and evidence.
How many other states still have this? Do you know?
Well, if 20 states ban it, and we have 50 plus Puerto Rico and 51 or whatever. So
actually, this is,
which isn't really a state; it's a territory, and then we have all
that's
the
too
other.
much. We're getting into too much. So yeah, this is good news and bad news. Good news is like, oh great, they banned some horrible conversion therapy, that anti-science thing. But the bad news is like, what? Like this is just happening now, and there's 30 other states that this is not banned. Like it's. I don't know why this doesn't shock other people. It should shock everybody. We're talking about the most advanced country in the most powerful country in the world, where most is number one in science, number one in technology, and 30 states, such a harmful practice as conversion therapy is still allowed. And it's good that we're celebrating one of the states banning it, But it's 2020, and we're celebrating it now instead of having to celebrate something like this, like, I mean, 200 years ago. Should have this. Why are these things still around? Like, I really don't understand. Like, shouldn't the government isn't okay as a person that is for limited government? I always think like that limited government doesn't mean no government. Government should protect its people, and one of the roles of government is if there's any industry that is doing something that is harmful, that is harming people, obviously the government should step in and and make it illegal, um, and ban it. Right? This is obviously something that the government should step in. Rivka, are you okay? You touching?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm sorry. I've been having really bad
Oh, okay. We're gonna.
allergies.
That's
I'm
okay.
sorry. My eyes are itchy. I have a sinus headache.
All right.
Go ahead.
I'm not gonna. I'm not gonna mention. I'm not gonna go. Let's try to go through the next news fast. Okay. So.
Yeah, a couple things are
All right.
similarly just bad things about religion and children.
Right.
You want to go for the next one?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Sorry about that, everybody.
That's okay.
New Jersey Catholic Church denies child first communion because he's autistic. This one just kind of grinds my gears. It's just mean. An 8-year-old New Jersey kid was denied first communion because he's autistic. The boy's father, Jimmy Lacuna, shared the story on Facebook. Today, Nicole and I were informed that our son Anthony would not be able to make his communion this year. As most of you know, Anthony is an autistic, nonverbal child who is in his sacrament year. Father Bambrick at St. Aloysius Church in Jackson and the Archdiocese of Trenton came to this position since Anthony is unable to determine right from wrong due to his disability. They feel he is not up to the benchmark requirement to make communion. So because this kid is disabled, he doesn't get to make communion. And even though I don't believe in transubstantiation and that wafer really is, Jesus and all of that, it just seems mean. If it means something to the child, just because he has a disability, you'd think that, since God is love and everything. But it just goes back to the whole idea that if you don't believe in the right God, you're going to go to hell and burn. It's just gross. And I just think it's mean. And
what is their logic, quote unquote logic?
He says that because he has this disability, he's autistic and he's nonverbal, that he is unable to determine right from wrong. Therefore, he is not up to what they call the benchmark requirement. So because he doesn't know right from wrong, he can't take communion because apparently he's not able to make that distinction, and somehow you have to be able to in order to accept this communion.
Autistic people can tell right from wrong.
Apparently this kid, they say, can't. But neither can very small children when they're in the pre-operational stage. Sometimes if they're not logical, if they haven't reached concrete operation stage, they may not know some things are right and some things are wrong. But also, according to the Catholics, if you're not saved, maybe you don't know right from wrong because you haven't accepted Jesus, or you don't know that eating meat on Friday is wrong, or if you're not Jewish, you don't know that using your lights on Saturday is wrong. I mean, the whole thing is just dumb. But the kid wants to do it, so why do you have to be mean to a kid who has disability? That just doesn't seem very nice or Christian love.
No, it does.
So that's it.
No, that sounds exactly like Christian love. But okay, so but I mean, I'm just trying to see things from your perspective. First of all, autistic, I think they're confusing autism with psychopath, because autistic.
Well, he's nonverbal, so maybe they think he's stupid, which again is prejudice.
Okay, But yeah, I mean, I'm trying to understand what it is within their ideology. First of all, you can still get saved if you. I think getting saved is mostly with the baptism and stuff like that. So this is not. This isn't this. In their ideology, this doesn't necessarily mean that he's going to hell or anything like that.
Oh,
But
but wait,
but
Armin, listen to this. So after the guy put it on Facebook, then the church said that they reiterated the rule saying a Catholic cannot be denied sacraments as long as they are properly prepared and ready. And they added, after doing some research rather, quote, new information has come to light that would allow them to give the boy communion.
I bet you that new information was public pressure. Uh,
Exactly.
before this so-called new information like what? The government did God update the Bible or something? What new information? But anyways, I want to know what they think would have happened if they just let this kid have some. What do they give the kids for communion?
The wafer, that's supposedly the body of Christ. It's
I know
transubstantiated.
that, but they don't give them wine. They give them like grape juice, right?
Grape juice,
Yeah.
probably, yeah.
Yeah, but okay. Here's another interesting thing. Where do they like a new updated information? Where in the Bible Jesus said like, "Oh, eat the bread for this is my body, and drink the wine for this is my blood." Unless you're a child, then you could have grape juice. Grape juice could also be my blood if you're a child because alcohol is not good for children. Like where, like where is that? Which part of the Bible? They just make things up, right? So if you could just make things up, why do you have to make things up that is mean to children? Make things up that are I don't know. But I mean, what did they think would happen if this kid could just have the wafer and the grape juice? Like, what would happen? Would something happen to the fabric of the universe, or are they committing a sin by letting the kid have the grape juice and the wafer? Like when they didn't, when the person that's like, oh no, you don't get to have wafers and grape juice. What they, I want to really know. I really want to know how did they, in what way did they think they're helping? Like what would have been the consequences, the negative consequences of letting this kid have a wafer and some grapes? I'm not saying, I mean, technically this is a good news. I want more people to see. I don't see this as a bad news. I see this as good news because more people could see how ridiculous religion is. And maybe some people in that church are also like, well, this is dumb, and they might start questioning other things as well, right? So that's fine. This is not really that bad of a news. But I'm just curious. I just really want to sit down with these people and just know what goes on their head. Like, does bad juju happen? Something like what is going to happen? Like if the kid had the grape juice. Anyways, let me see what the top comments are. Oh, the top comment is by one of the guests of the Secular Jihadist show, Erin, Erin Robert Jones. She's saying, actual conversion at a church I was visiting and explaining my son's verbal delay to his new Sunday school teacher. And she was saying to the Sunday school teacher, he's autistic and has a hard time speaking. And this is the teacher responded, I'm so sorry. God doesn't make mistakes. Just remember that. And Erin responded, don't equate my son with a mistake ever. Okay, yeah. So, interesting. That's an interesting story. Okay, so next news.
The next
Oh
news
wait.
is
We have a super no no super chat. We have Christy in the live chat is saying question. Let's ask Armin. Atheist Republic. How can chat tag Rivka? How do I spell that beautiful name? Oh, just the way you did it, Rivka. Just
Rivka.
yeah, just tag Atheist Republic and mention that the question is for Rivka, and then I'll read it to Rivka if you have a question for Rivka. But make sure your questions are relevant to the news that we're talking about. All right, next news.
And sorry I'm being so fidgety. I have a headache.
Okay.
Okay, number 9. Christian blogger ridiculed for saying men can't be attracted to female cops.
What?
Okay.
Wait, what?
Yeah. Here we go. Christian blogger and mommy shamer Lori Alexander set off a Twitter storm when she ranted about how men could possibly be attracted to women in traditionally male professions, specifically law enforcement and the military. It didn't sit well with women and plenty of men who have spent their careers as cops and soldiers. Alexander eventually responded as you'd expect, with a complete denial of doing anything wrong, followed by doubling down of her position because those women weren't taking care of babies at home. Now this is the blogger
Wait. Let me just say something. How out of touch do you have to be with society to not know that there's a whole bunch of people, both men and women, that are attracted to the gender that they're attracted to in uniform. Like, uniforms are huge. Like, you know how many people role play and dress up as cops and as firefighters, doctors? I don't know. What are you talking about? It's the complete opposite of what you're saying. You know how many men would see a woman as 100 times more attractive just because they're wearing a cop uniform?
Well, let me read you her tweet, okay? She is called the Transformed Wife. That's her handle. And what she said was, I'm not sure how men could be attracted to women dressed as men, like female police officers and females in the military. These are men's jobs. If they weren't, then women could dress like women in these jobs, but they can't. Stick to being feminine, women. So not only does she have this antiquated notion of what types of jobs these are and who can do what jobs, she also doesn't realize that actually there are dress uniforms in the military and for police officers that are skirts.
Yeah, I mean,
if she thinks that those are female dresses,
it doesn't
or female
matter.
clothes, rather.
It doesn't.
But no, I'm saying she's so stupid. She's too dumb to even be the right kind of bigot.
Right.
She doesn't even know what she's talking about.
But
and she's antiquated.
But when you tell people stick to being feminine, why? Be the way you like. Why do you have to be feminine? Why is somebody else have to be masculine?
Feminine could be in a police uniform.
But it doesn't matter if you don't want to be feminine. Be the way you want to be. Be any way you feel like it's right, okay? Just be like, why? Why do you, I don't understand. Oh, be feminine. Be masculine. Why? You be feminine. You like feminine? Be feminine. If you don't want to be feminine, don't be feminine. Why does that? Why? I don't understand that. By the way, it works the other way around as well. Like, some people are like, oh yeah, men can be feminine. I mean, like, okay, great, yeah, men can be feminine. Or like, oh, but then they take it to the next level. This is the over adjustment. Oh, men have to be feminine. Men have to find their feminine side. No, some men want to be masculine. Some men feel like very masculine. They want to always be masculine. They don't feel comfortable being feminine. Now that you see, this is the over adjustment. Just be the way you want to be. Just act, behave, like, just enjoy. Just discover what you're comfortable with. Just discover, like, oh, I want to be masculine. I want to be feminine. I want to talk like this. Just feel like what feels nice. Just stick with that. Just stick with whatever feels nice. If you think this is nice for you, just don't tell other people to be like you. They're not comfortable being like you. Just you be the way you are. And they, like, how is it? Oh, my God. Anyways.
Well,
so stupid.
This woman feels that she's got to spread the good news about, because she has a blog, and she says that she's writing with the purpose of teaching biblical womanhood according to Titus 2:3, which is that, this is Titus, likewise teach older women to be reverent, not to be slanderers or addicted to wine, urge younger women to love their husbands, to be self-controlled and pure, to be busy at home, and to be subject to their husbands so that they will not malign the word of God. So there you go. So that's part of her deal. And I looked on her site, and she's got these sort of adopting, even though she's like, don't be a feminist, but she's adopting all these things. She said patriarchy is good. It has to do with male leadership and authority, which is what scriptures want. The men are the teachers in the home. It's 100% God's idea.
Oh,
Make women biblical again.
great.
So it doesn't even have anything to do with
I like
even
this.
what I would think it's her own ideas. It's what she,
I like this.
thinks God
I
wants.
want more people to, because a lot of these people that are saying like, oh, women should be the way they want, and like men should behave like, there is no gender roles. By the way, gender roles is statistically, don't deny biology. Biologically makes us. Biology has an influence on our behavior, and statistically, more women are have feminine behavior, and more men have masculine behavior. That is statistics. Don't deny that. Not everything is a social construct. Some things are biology. Okay, but just because statistically men are more like that and women are more feminine, that doesn't mean that if you're not one of those, you don't fit into the norm, that there's anything wrong with you. Okay, if you're part of the minority and you're a man, you enjoy being feminine, enjoy being feminine. If you're a woman, you enjoy being masculine, enjoy being masculine. Okay, just because something is statistically normal doesn't mean it's right. Okay, doesn't mean normal doesn't mean good. Okay, so but don't in your fight to defend people being the way they want, don't deny science and don't deny statistics, and let people like this make their case, because it's great. Because in a world when more people are realizing that people should just be the way they're comfortable with, I want people to come and remind the world what the Bible stands for and what the Quran stands for, so that it reminds them why we need to be anti-religious. When somebody says like, oh, women should be feminine, why? Because scripture. Okay, great, thank you. Keep saying that louder, louder, so that we could hear what the Bible stands for, so that more people could be Christianity, right?
And I want to say that I agree with what you're saying about not denying science. And also, I want to say, too, if this woman was saying, you know what, I think women should be feminine because that makes I feel it's more comfortable that way for me, and that's what I like. That's completely different in my mind than saying because God said so, because it says so in the book, and you need to do it too.
Right.
That's the difference.
Right. By the way,
I want to do it because I'm comfortable doing it. That's different.
Right. And again, some people are the over adjusting people are the people that go to if you have a daughter, right? And you go to a toy store and she picks up a Barbie, don't, and because she likes a Barbie or whatever girls usually like, don't be like, no, my children have to have everything gender neutral. I'm going to get you a toy car instead. Just let them decide. If she picks up a toy car, just let her have a toy car. If she wants a Barbie, then if your girl likes pink, that's not a disaster. Don't be like, oh my god, my child is like becoming a stereotype. Like, no, she likes pink. It's okay for girls to like pink. Don't over adjust. Don't be like, no, my daughter shouldn't like pink. My girl, why do boys, my girl could like blue as well. If she likes pink, that's okay, okay? Don't over adjust. Don't over adjust these things. Just let them decide whatever they enjoy the most. Anyways.
No one's getting pink or blue in this household. It's orange and yellow.
Yeah, I'm gonna put girly. Even though my boy doesn't like girly clothes, I'm gonna force girly clothes on her because we're such an accepting family. No, you're over adjusting. The proper way is to just let them discover their identity, let them discover what they like, let them explore, okay? And you're just there to support them whatever they decide, as long as what they're deciding is not harmful to themselves or harmful to other people, then you're supporting whatever they decide. Don't try to over adjust. Anyways, let's go to the last news.
The last news is once again a story out of the state of Ohio for the third week in a row. An Ohio pastor is charged with a crime involving children and sex. Ohio pastor charged with running sex trafficking ring using underage girls. So, Reverend Randolph Brown from Cleveland, Ohio, runs the Inner City Missionary Baptist Church, was arrested by local human trafficking task force and indicted on 2 counts of compelling prostitution. The date of the alleged offense was August of 2018, and there was nearly a year and a half between the initial action and his arrest. A woman named Joyce Richmond was also arrested in connection with the incident. Brown was also indicted on 2 counts of compelling prostitution. So again, there is another preacher in the state of Ohio who is doing terrible things to children. This guy was exploiting 3 underage teenage girls who ran away from home. One was 14, another one was 15. And apparently this Joyce Richmond woman was involved in either finding the girls for him or arranging the payment. I'm not 100% sure. But again, just like we talked about with the previous 2 pastors, this is another case of giving undeserved authority to someone and allowing them to be alone with children based solely on a belief that somehow they're special and deserve authority and will protect your children because of Magic Sky Friend.
Right.
So again, this, but I do want to say one thing. The special agent in Ohio said one thing that I really liked is he said, this investigation should make clear that we will hold all traffickers accountable regardless of any position they occupy in the community. So I like that he was like, too bad you're a preacher, buddy.
Wait, so actually I don't like that he said that, because that suggests that there is some expectation. Wait, because that's supposed to be obvious. The fact that he said that to me suggests that there is a practice of pastors getting less.
Well, to me, I felt like he was saying,
I know, but
everybody's equal before the law.
Yeah, but let me finish my thought, because to me the fact that you have to say that, I mean, it's good that he said that. I mean, and it's good that he is saying he's making sure that everybody is equal, but him saying that must be, he wouldn't say that if this was just obvious, right? To me, if you're saying that, you're going against a certain expectation or a certain norm. Maybe I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong. But that scares me that he has to say that. That, the fact that you're a pastor is not going to give you any favoritism. You're not going to get any special treatment. To me, like, wait, why do you have to say that? Was that an expectation? Was it something going on before? Like, so that scares me that he had to say that. But again,
I see what you're saying.
Right.
I see what you're saying.
So,
that's a valid point.
Right. But again, like Rivka said, every time we mention a story like this, we have to mention a few things. One is, first of all, yes, pastors and other religious figures in other religions as well seem to have a higher per capita basis of being responsible for child sex abuse than other people. I just said per capita. And don't overgeneralize just because somebody's a pastor or a priest or a Quranic teacher. That doesn't mean they're they abuse children. So don't be too general with your accusations. But it is a problem that it is mostly in religious communities more than other places. And another thing that we always point at is that there is nothing within Christianity that endorses this. However, that doesn't mean religion is blameless. So there is no verse in the Bible that you could use to support this. But there's two ways that we always point out that religion is responsible for this. One is what Rivka mentioned, undeserved authority and credibility. Like if you look at all the other positions where you allow adults alone with children and you let adults take care of your children, they usually come with a lot better scientific testing. Like you get a license for whatever a teacher or, and even if it's not there, it should be there. But other if you're a child psychologist or whatever, the authority, the trust that the parents have towards the other adult that is taking care of their children is usually based on something that is deserved authority or credibility. But when it comes to pastors and priests and other religious figures, it's undeserved, and it's a fertile ground for adults to be able to take advantage of children and abuse them, because the only reason why you're trusting them with your children is because magic from sky or something like that, right? So that's, you would expect for people that do want to abuse children that this would be the perfect place for them. That's one way religions causes this problem. Another way that I think religion, especially Christianity, causes this problem is by giving you a license to sin. And this is something Christianity is more responsible for in it than Islam, because in Christianity, all sins can be forgiven through Jesus Christ, no matter what you have done. If you believe in Jesus as your Lord and Jesus died for your sins and all sins are forgiven. So it's the opposite of what people say that, religion gives you morality. It's the exact opposite. Religion gives you a license to sin, gives you the opportunity to do horrible things and feel guilt-free because, God has forgiven you, Jesus has forgiven you, and we're all sinners, right? Who cares? It's all the same thing. Some people lie to their parents, some people might steal a gum, and some people might just commit mass genocide or rape a whole bunch of children. It's sin. We're all sinners. It's all the same thing.
Sinchman.
Yeah. So this is another thing Christianity does. It makes all sins seem equal. Like, as if they're all the same thing. And when all of it is forgiven, so no problem. So, again, let's finish. Let me just see if there's any top comment. Top comment is by Sean. It's saying it's always the ones you most suspect. No, it's not always. I think that was a joke. I hope that was a joke. But yeah, okay, that was our last news. Thank you, everybody. Please share our videos. Please subscribe. If you haven't to our YouTube channel, if you're not subscribed to our YouTube channel, explain in the comment section why you're not. I mean, if you watched this far, that means you like our content. So that means that you want to see more of our content. So you might as well subscribe. Hit that bell thingy. Like, comment something. Just feed the YouTube algorithm. If you're watching us on Facebook, come on YouTube as well. Comment something. Say, just put, write something, because YouTube will the more you comment, the more these robots behind the scene are like, oh, this video is important. Let me show it to more people. So comment, even dislike. Dislike is good too. It's engagement. Anyways, thank you guys. Thank you for the super chats. Thank you, Christy, for modding. Thank you, Old Scratch Chris, RPG Smithy, Another Godless Atheist, Mark, AKL561 on Facebook, Eric, Napon, Susanna, who was not there anymore, Angel, thank you for your super chats, Vishnu, Zoro, I like the usernames. Anyways, thank you all. Sorry if I didn't read your name. I love you all, even if I didn't read your name, and see you guys again next week.
Bye.
Bye.